need a high value man, and your value only comes through the man you're connected to. Yada yada. I'm not doing all that. Right? That's foolishness. That's nonsense. Right? But at the same time, I do want to make sure that it's known that you might not realize and recognize that you got this thing going on, and you might be deficient in that area. You might not see it. Right? And we as men who get on you, we might not see that if you didn't have those things with us. Right? That's why I played that song. If you remember last weekend when we did the Shabbat Shalom service on the podcast, and we're going to do it at 10 a.m. Eastern New York time again today, and have you guys call in or ask questions and do things. We'll deal with some of that stuff and let that stuff be heard. But if you remember, if you remember, we went over those things. We were talking about a lot of different things as far as like. There's a lot of stuff that men don't even know, because watch this, we're untrained, we're uneducated. Do you know, like, a lot of brothers are raised by women who they themselves, once again, are trying to do the strong, independent black woman thing, and therefore they don't necessarily know how to operate, how to act. And so they train their sons. And so sons look at strong, independent women, right? Right? And so they're raised by strong, independent women. And then they start treating you like strong, independent women. They start treating their spouse like strong, independent women. That's what y'all said y'all want. Right? You don't need a man for this. You don't need a man. You don't need me. You don't need me. Well, then when he's raised being told he's unnecessary, and he begins to act like somebody who's unnecessary. Why you need me for this? You don't ask me for this. I wish I had your direction, but when I give direction, you always talking about you don't need it. See, so he becomes independent because he's been taught that strength is an independence. And at the same time, he wants to be strong because he's a man. So here he is trying to be independent of you. You're trying to be independent of him. You're trying to get two independent people into an interdependent situation. Here you are trying to be independent. I don't need. Here he is being independent. I don't need. But you both need to be interdependent. Yeah, someone had to carry the weight for sure. And so you did something. But watch this. See, that within itself for the little girl. Can I say something? Can I just say something? Sisters, please don't be mad at me. But I'm just going to be honest with you. You know, we always talk about SA and, physical and all this stuff. But, to not allow you to be protected as a little girl was to allow you to be abused. Just real talk. When we allowed you to be out there unprotected, to have to be independent, to have to be the one that everything was on your shoulders, you weren't designed for that. See, abuse means abnormal usage. How you doing, Sister Toya? Abuse just means abnormal usage. It's a compound word. Abuse is abnormal usage. You were misused. Everybody's supposed to be used, by the way, but you were misused. We were misused too. And so misused people, tender people, Deuteronomy 28:54, right? Misused brothers started misusing you. You lost your father at age 5. Sorry to hear that. Yeah. And there's some things that he probably would have instilled just with his presence. Even a bad father, you still see certain things that a father carries. Right. And so you became strong for everybody. You became misused. That's abusive, by the way. That everybody's depending on you. Everything's on your shoulders. Nobody's sewing in. Remember, we talked about in the 6 basic human needs, you got contribution. How you doing, Islamborn? Right? Contribution. Who's contributing to you so you can contribute to others? Who's sewing into you? Watch this. The way that a wife is designed, the way that a woman is designed, right? What a girl is turning into through her pubescent adolescence. Where does multiplication happen in your body? Where does multiplication happen in a sister's body? Right? Your whole body It's going to participate in multiplication, but it happens, yes, in your garden, in your womb, where the seed's going to be planted, right? Right? I'm not saying this is the only thing you're designed to do, but just hear me. Your body, sisters, is designed specifically, a huge part of it is to do what? Is to make sure that you have multiplication happen, right? Multiplication happens in the womb. The womb has to be protected. For example, a lot of people don't know this. When a guy has sperm, the guy's sperm, the male has to actually create not only lubricant for the sperm, but also has to put stuff on the sperm that will allow it to be able to fight off um, certain things that are already in the woman's body. The woman's body is already designed to try and fight off disease, like everybody's body is, right? But she will try to kill, the woman's body will try to off the sperm. The sperm has to have things on it to counteract the attack that's going to happen. Sometimes when you're dealing with somebody having an issue with pregnancy, sometimes it's because the man might not have things to help counteract it, or the woman stuff is so strong or is out of pocket that she fights off even the sperm, right? So that could be sometimes even the reason why you're having issues with birth. Not the only reason, but that could be one of many. But nevertheless, right? This he has to have something already that says, "Do not off me. I come to bring life." Right? Right? I'm showing up. I've been sent here by somebody, and you shouldn't. And see, watch this. This is why we got to start protecting our little girls, even their mindset, because really, what's going on, even in the mind, is I'm showing up to protect life, and I've been invited here. The society that doesn't protect, right, the womb, and say that we should only have things that are invited here, is a society that allows a lot of stuff to go astray. Now, yes, I know that there can be SA. I know there can be people who force women into a position. I'm not going to act like or pretend like that's not a thing, right? However, if we also be honest on the other side, right? If we also be, how you doing, like me? If we be honest on the other side, right? One of the things that should be protected is the womb. The womb is protected. Even the body has to protect the baby from the rest of the body. The brain has to send signals. When the egg sends a signal to the brain has to then send a signal to the rest of the entire body to say that, hey, this thing that we have inside of us, do not off it. Do not try to come against it. Yes, this is something that is not our blood. It is not something that's supposed to be here. However, this has been invited into the womb. And your body says, okay, we'll go ahead. Not only will we protect it, but now the whole body will ensure that it feeds it. That's why, sisters, if you don't have your minerals together, you'll lose your hair, you'll lose your teeth, you'll lose sleep, you'll lose vision. You'll have gestational diabetes. Never had diabetes a day in your life. Now you got gestational diabetes because your body's going to say, whatever this thing is, if we're not supposed to get rid of it, then we must protect it. We'll protect it at all costs. We'll put it first. We'll become a living sacrifice. Right, the babies are even protected in the amniotic sac and the fluid. And then guess what? When that sac breaks, or when that water breaks, what happens? Then the rest of the body says, "Oh, okay. If the water is leaving, then we need to make sure that what the baby was put in to be protected, that the baby leaves with it. And since we've been feeding the baby from the placenta or the afterbirth, let's go ahead and have the placenta go too, because the baby's supposed to. That's why it's so hard to cut the umbilical cord. You're not supposed to cut the umbilical cord. It's supposed to fall off naturally, right? So the body says, hey, we're going to keep feeding this baby until the placenta passes away. Every woman, in a sense, gives birth to twins, so to speak, because the placenta is alive and is literally has been created to become a living sacrifice just to take care of the child. Right. So once the water breaks, the body says, well, the child is unprotected. We got to make sure that the child goes with the protection. It flows with the water. Right. This is what's going on. The body literally is created. The woman's body at that point, thank you for the love, appreciate it. The woman's body is literally at that point saying, we are about to go ahead and extend ourselves and protect even to the last breath of the placenta. Right. This is what is going on inside the woman's body. Right. That's where multiplication happens. So where the womb is, that's where the multiplication happens. It must be protected. Right. It must be protected. She must be protected. The baby must be protected. How you doing, brother TJ? You live in a society today where, hey, who cares? Who cares about what's in the woman's womb? It's not real. I need you to recognize if you won't care about what's supposed to multiply in your sisters, you're not going to care about your sisters. It's one of the most ingenious things the devil has done. I know you don't like to give the devil credit. You don't like to say he might be a genius or he might be smart, but it's one of the most ingenious things that the devil has done, or genius things, if you will, that the devil has done. It's one of the most genius things he's ever done, to where he has gotten you to believe and to start telling people and teaching people that life is no longer life. That even though Yah said, I knew you before conception, he says that life doesn't start until way after conception. And when we started to dismiss that life, now we were already dismissing women, for real, for real. And some brothers were already mistreating what was in the womb before we started officially calling it abortion. And before you got to Roe versus Wade and all that. But real talk, the once you got to a place to where now you dismiss the life in a woman, you dismiss the multiplication in her, right? One of the greatest things she does is to multiply. Once you say that her being a helpmeet doesn't matter anymore, then one of the greatest things she does, she was Ayazad. Before she was called wombed man, and by Adam, and then later on Eve. Before that, she was Ayazad. She was the helpmeet. And remember, even part of the definition of the helpmeet means she feels secure enough to succor, right? Or to be secure, or become secure. What does that mean? Secure. She gets that security, that protection. She's been given that affection. You give, and then she's willing to become secure. Secure, SUCCOR. I think it's modern spelling, the biblical spelling, SUCCOUR. It literally, part of the definition means that she can make sure that she helps you in a manner when everything is getting tough, when everything's falling apart, right? She becomes secure. You secure her, she secures you. You make her feel like you got her no matter what, and she'll make sure that she sows into you when nobody else has you. This is supposed to be what we're instilling in the little girl. I will secure you so much that you can't wait to help me when I'm in a time of trouble. As a little girl, it might just be when you see that nobody else is seeing that daddy's going through something, nobody else is worried about it, you come and you give me a hug, and you'll sit there and you hug me, right? But you're putting those things in. Right? You're putting those things in. You're sowing those things in now, right? So as she gets older, she'll start to do more. See, she might only be able to give a hug now, but then later on it'll be, I love you, daddy. It might go from I love you, daddy, to, well, hey, can I help you to clean something? It might go from I help you to clean something to, hey, daddy, can we go out and can we have fun? It might go from that to, okay, now I'm going to start doing things for you. It might go to some point to where you need her to help you, right? Physically. Might go into where she needs to now sow into you as far as your finances. When you having troubles, all of a sudden now she can be able to sow into you, but you sowed into her. But you put those things into the little girl. The secure girl grows into the secure woman. Right? Security, secure. Secure, once again, means what? It means that she can give you something and help you as a helpmeet, as Ayazar, and she can do so in a she can do so when you are at your most need. When you need it the most, she's there for you. The secure woman becomes a place of succor. And how you doing, Gwendolyn? How you doing, Betty Boop? Right? The secure woman becomes succor later on. Right? We are supposed to raise a girl to be a wife. And therefore, really, once again, the girl, her whole life is supposed to be a wife. You are her spiritual husband. First of all, Yahweh should always be her first husband. Right? This is why I always tell a lot of sisters, well, what should I do with this? And how should I do? Become a wife. Well, I don't know how to deal with this. And you know, this brother's blah, blah. Become a wife. Well, I don't know. These males out here, they're tricking, blah, blah. Become a wife. Right? If I'm talking to the little girl in you, I'm talking to the one that's in training to become a wife. I'm not talking to the one that's in training to stay a little girl. Right? You have greater in you. Right? You are in training to become a wife and to maintain wifehood. You never are supposed to come out of wifehood. Even if you're an immature wife, right? You're still treated as a wife. How you doing, Stacy? How you doing, Shabbos? How you doing, my kid? Right? Even if you have never been trained. See, I'm just trying to help you. Wifehood is the mandate. Right? We talked about this a little while ago. Israel's standard is a wife. We're going to talk about it a little bit more in the podcast today when you guys call in, we talk and we chat and do what we did last time. And Sister Latoya, I apologize. I didn't reach out to you. If you need help with that, just let me know. Right? Matter of fact, I'll try to make sure I just send you something on Messenger before. But you got to realize that a secure wife is going to become a secure wife. Right? We are trying to make sure that she feels so secure that she multiplies, that she used to being able to multiply no matter what, that when things go bad later on in life, she's one of the first people to make sure that you get something. Oh, you have the app? Okay, cool. Right? So the secure wife becomes the secure wife. She is never not supposed to be a wife. She goes from the spiritual father, the spiritual husband, who is her physical father, to the physical husband, who becomes her spiritual father. And she is supposed to be a wife the whole time and be a daughter the whole time. She's supposed to be a wife the whole time and have a husband the whole time. She's not supposed to not be covered. The Bible describes that Adam would leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, but not once does it say that a wife will leave her father. Her mother or father for that matter, but definitely will never leave her father. Right? You never leave your father. You should always have a father. Even when you do even though walking down the aisle is not in the Bible, even for those of you who like to do the walking down the aisle piece, you have somebody be given from one father to another. Everybody stands. I say, all rise. Everybody rises up. You see the bride come down, usually with her father, or her father meets her somewhere, and then they come down together, get to a certain place. And what's the first thing that's said after that? The first thing that the officiant says is, right, or well, if you're doing that style, is what? Who giveth this woman away to be married? And who's the person that's supposed to say it? The father. He says, I do. Before either one of them can say I do, you say I do. Now I am supposed to be in the position of father, right? Because I'm supposed to represent Abba. I'm not Abba. I'm not Abba father, right? But I'm just saying I'm supposed to be in the position of Yahweh, represent as his representative. The woman coming down the aisle is a wife. She is a wife, but and she's a daughter at the same time. She's walking down the aisle with her physical father and her spiritual husband. He gets to a certain place and he said, and I say, who giveth this woman away to be married? Who gives permission for this to happen? Who's going to allow this to work? Who is coming before me as a representative of Yah? Who wants to come to Yah and say, Yah, I am trusting what's about to happen? It's her father, who also is her husband, her physical father, who's her spiritual husband. He says, I do. As soon as he does that, he puts the hand of the bride and the hand of the groom. He gets to his seat. And then once the father, he's the one who had authority. Once the father gets to his seat, we say, you may be seated. Everybody sits down, right? Now that everybody's seated, you have become witnesses. You are in affidavit mode. Right now, you have become witnesses. You are in affidavit mode, right? And you are watching as a witness to see what's going to happen and to hold them accountable to it. Right. Once the father has given her away, then guess what? She's in the hand of who's going to become her new father, right? Physical or spiritual father, and the one who's going to become her physical husband, but she's not his yet. So is she without covering? Yeah, unfortunately, that happens sometimes. It shows that's why we got to talk about this stuff, right? Is she without covering in that moment? Think about this now. Is she without covering? The father the physical father and the spiritual husband has given her away to be wed to the spiritual father who's now becoming her physical husband. But she's still covered, right? She's still covered because the representative of Yah is still in front of them, which means that Yah is the one now who's taking place. He is the one as the father who's saying, I'm going to allow this to go from this father to that father. So I recognize the father in you. You said that you give me permission to recognize the father in him. and allow the father in him to now become the husband for her. She's not uncovered through the whole ceremony, right? Through the whole thing. Even when you're doing the walking down the aisle European thing, even though it's not in the Bible, she's still not uncovered. Now, some people make this become misogynistic, and we act like she's just a thing that's beneath. No, no, no. She's still the wife. She's still your side. She's not in front of you. She's not behind you. She's not above you. She's not beneath you. She's beside you. But she's never supposed to be uncovered. There's 3 fathers that have shown up to that wedding. If we have it the way that the Most High would love it to be, there's 3 fathers that have shown up, right? One that's saying, I trust what's about to happen. I trust you, Yah, and I know him, right? Because in our culture, you're supposed to know him too, right? So I trust you, Abba, and I trust the Abba in you. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and release me from my responsibility, because I've been responsible for her from day one, not from when she came out of the womb, not from when the vagina was dilated, not from when they caught the baby, right? No, I've been with her from before the sperm even connected with the egg, because I was taking care of my daughter, who was your mother, who is my spiritual daughter, but my physical wife. I've been taking care of her, and so the wife in you that now I give away, it comes out of the wife that I've been taking care of. I've been taking care of you since before. This is why Yahweh says, I before your mother and father knew each other, I knew you, right? The same kind of concept. I knew you before you even knew yourself. Before you were even conceived, I knew you because I took care of your mama. And I expect the way that I took care of your mama and took care of you, that he's going to take care of you and take care of your babies too. If you need me, I'm still here, but I've got to go ahead and move back, right? Or else he can't become a father. Just like Hashra said, hey, if I don't leave, the comforter cannot come. You will never reach your greatest potential if I'm still trying to hover over you as your daddy. I got to move back some and allow this man to actually go to another level, because I'm limited. I'm your physical father, but I can never be your physical husband. But when you become one with him and begin to multiply in certain things, it's going to take you to a level that I can't take you to. So I've done everything I can. I've got you up to the land of Canaan, but I'm gonna have to watch you from the mountaintop. Know that I left you my law. I left you the law of Moses. I left you the law of Daddy. Daddy loves you. He wrote the law out. He told you everything you're gonna need to make it through this marriage. But I'm not supposed to take you into Canaan. That's gonna be Joshua. I give you away. You see, it's a different context. It's a different culture. It's a different mindset. You said your mom used to say that to you all the time. You know better than you know yourself. Mm-hmm. Oh, she know you better than you know yourself. Yeah, like I'm just saying, there's some things that you do. There's some stuff that my son does, and I just look at him. I go, huh, right? Because I already know what that is. And sometimes I'd be frustrated when people will try and tell me this, and I'll meet people or persons all over the place, and they'll tell me this and that, and blah blah blah, my son. And I just kind of like, okay, eventually I just start being quiet. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, I know what that boy does. I know what he means. I know what he didn't mean. I know if he meant it malice. I know if he didn't intend it. I know if he made a mistake. I know if he's ashamed, right? I know all those things. Before anybody even comes to me, I already know. Because you know why? Because he act like me. I know that boy because he comes out of me. Our little girls are being treated the same way. And this is part of the problem that's going on with the little girl, that she has not been protected for so long, and she's become a grown girl who's not been protected. She has not been able to mature into the wife because she was supposed to be protected as a wife from birth. How you doing, Aaron? She was supposed to be protected from birth. She was always supposed to be protected. There was never a time that she should not have been protected. And watch this. One of the things that happens, and sisters, we can't blame you for this, but let's just be honest. One of the reasons why sometimes you do lash out, or maybe you don't trust, is because that we didn't sow that into you when you were young. And we didn't make sure that we watched over you and continued to protect you. And we only allowed you. I know you don't want to hear this. Now, this is once again the independent woman shows up, but hear me, sis. Hear me, mom. Hear me, daughter. The independent thing, right, that you did, maybe you felt like you had to do that to survive. And part of that is, well, I don't need to listen to you for this and blah, blah. I'm not just going to let anybody tell me yada, yada, yada. It's because that you weren't protected enough. And when you're not protected, you don't think you need protection. Like, I, as a man, and first of all, I'm a wife too, spiritually speaking. I'm Yahweh's wife, right? But as a man, can I be honest with you? I bow down. I got spiritual parents. They get to tell me what to do. They're not in front of you guys that often. Some of you seen them, some of you haven't, right? But some of you seen them up close. Some of you met them. Some of you listened to them preach and stuff like that. But I have spiritual parents too. How you doing, Sister Shima? Right? I have to bow down. I have to submit. That's why the Bible says in Ephesians 5:21, let us submit yourselves one to another. The husband's got to submit too. This is interdependence. It's not independence, it's interdependence. Yah is dependent on you to do some things, believe it or not. You know that the Most High cannot come back. Yahshua is not sending his son back. Matthew 24, verse 14 says this. He's not sending the son back until you have preached exactly what you were supposed to preach. So he's waiting. He's dependent on you. The Father doesn't get to tell the Son to come back until we don't know the day nor the hour. Nobody knows it except the Father. But the Son is waiting on the Father's commandment to tell him to come back. The Father's not telling him to come back until you have made sure that you're worthy of the mansion. It's a marital principle. It's in our culture, right? The husband, beloved, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in the Father, also believe in me. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it was not so, I would not have told you. I go to prepare a place for thee, that where I am, you will be there with me also. That's John 14. Well, if you go to John 14 and think about it, you'll think that that's only especially because a lot of religious stuff we do, a lot of us think that that's only a funeral thing. But this is actually talking about a religious thing. It's actually telling us about a religious issue, a religious situation, or not religious, sorry, a marital situation, excuse me. So when you talk about a marital situation in our culture, once the two are betrothed and the parents agree, the son goes back and he builds an add-on to his father's house. That add-on, right, is called a mansion, right? He goes back and puts an add-on to the house so that him and his wife can live on his father's land. So once they get themselves together, they can then transfer from there to the land that was already promised, or the land that the son already has for himself, right? So in my father's house, there are many mansions, right? If it was not so, I would not have told you. Right? There are many mansions. There's many add-ons to the house. And the father keeps building until the house is prepared for the wife. And he also is getting word about the wife who's supposed to keep oil in her lamp. That's Matthew 25, right? She's supposed to keep oil in her lamp, right? So she's supposed to be preparing herself and staying committed and being ready and learning things about the person that she's going to be with. And they're not dating. We don't do dating or anything like that, but they're preparing themselves solely for each other. They don't even need to date because their everyday activity is only to be prepared for one another. Right? That's all they're doing is getting ready to become interdependent. So the father only tells the son to go back and get his bride based off of two things. Only based off of one, right? One is the house ready for a bride? Two, is she prepared for my son? If those two things are in order, then he sends his son back. It's a marital thing. You said purifying ourselves is part of preparation, for sure. And part of it, so even think about this once again for the little girl who's not purified. And maybe we've gone over purification a little bit, but maybe we'll go over it heavy tomorrow. Like maybe we'll talk about purifying ourselves and really purifying. When we say purify, like I'm going to look up, well, let's do this real quick. We're running out of time. I want to give us a little break in between, now in Shabbat Shalom service, but let's just try to see if we can find this really quick. We're going to look up this word that I don't think a lot of people comprehend correctly. And I got a really bad signal, man. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Let's look up this word purify. We're just going to look up the word purify. We're going to look at the Hebrew terminology. Okay. We're going to look up the Hebrew wording, the Avla wording, if you will. Because a lot of people talk about purifying, but we need to make sure that we comprehend what did they mean? What is the actual interpretation? Uh-oh. Hold on. I think I went to the wrong place. Hold on. Okay, no, I have that. Okay, so the word purify is actually kind of sort of close to the word. I had to double check it because I was surprised, because if you know what the word sin is, it's actually pretty close to the word sin, but it's the word kavalav, right? Now that's ancient Hebrew. I guess in modern Hebrew, they probably say like kata, probably kata or kavata, something like that. But we would say kavalav, right? Or kavalav, actually, excuse me, kavalav. And basically it's almost close to sin. Like it's almost, to purify yourself means that you have to recognize you're in sin. It's a very difficult context to even interpret in English, right? Or in any language, to be honest. But to purify oneself means you actually have to start from a place of recognizing that you need to be purified, if that makes sense. The word itself is very close to the word, one of many words we could use to say that you sin. So to purify oneself means that I must first realize that I've sinned, or I've missed the mark, I've missed the path, I've missed the goal, right? It also means that I have to bear laws. It means that I also, to purify means I have to be willing to lose something, sacrifice, if you will. And thanks for being part of the community, Buck Rogers, right? So now that I've got that, right, I realize I've got to bear loss. Now watch this. Then also, here comes something we don't talk about, or at least we don't get the context of, because we don't do it anymore and we don't know what the culture is, because everybody says the Old Testament doesn't matter, as if the Old Testament is a real thing, right? And what I mean by that, if you don't know what we're talking about, nobody thought about Old and New Testament until somebody wrote that in the Bible. There was never any such thing as there's an Old Testament and New Testament. Matter of fact, there was no such thing as Apocrypha by itself. There was no such thing as Enoch by itself, the Chronicles of Noah by itself, y'all know what I'm saying, Jasher by itself, etc. There was no such thing, right? It was one context, one text, right? One set of scrolls, one Bible, Biblios, one set of books. That's what it was, right? Now, that being said, and that, by the way, that's what the word Holy Bible means. Holy Bible literally means a whole, one set of books. Holy, one set of books. Okay, but so an incomplete Bible can be dangerous. Nevertheless, so to bear loss, it also means, if I'm going to purify myself, it means that I have to do something that's really special. I have to make a sin offering. Now, maybe we'll go over that tomorrow, right? But there's different types of offerings. Minister Bertram actually introduced that to us, because I've been very slow to introduce it, even over the years, because it's a really interesting concept for a lot of people, and it might lose some because it gets a little tedious maybe with some of the stuff. But if you comprehend, there's different types of offerings, even right? But a sin offering, or an atonement for your sin, right? Like Yahashua was the atonement for us, the Day of Atonement we just did recently, right? There's a sin offering. So you have to produce a sin offering, right? That means you have to offer something up. You have to be ready to bear a loss to be able to get to deal with what? To deal with purification. Purification is almost, once again, the same idea exactly as sin. Believe it or not. See, in our culture, see, it's cultural. See, in the West or in church, a lot of people go, you sinned. And so what you think is you sinned, you messed up, right? That's what a lot of us believe. You sinned, you have messed up. That's it. Right? You fell short, you missed the mark. That's it. That's what sin. But in our culture, and then also in the Western culture, if you're purifying, then that's something different. That's an action of coming out. But in our culture, if somebody has sinned, then somebody must also be purified. If somebody's being purified, it's because they have sinned. We don't separate the two. That's going to sound wild to a lot, but that's why I said the culture thing, you got to get this stuff together. If you have sinned, then we thinking the same word for sin is talking about the same word, just about. It's very close. So if I hear you say the word sin, I start automatically thinking about, well, how are you going to purify? If I start hearing the word purify, then I'm start thinking, well, how did you sin? We can't separate the two because one is necessary for the other. You cannot purify yourself if you sinned. See, a lot of y'all won't admit that you need to be purified, and therefore, or won't admit that you sin, but you keep talking about purifying. How do you purify what's already pure? If it's pure, it doesn't need purification. But if it's missed the mark, then it needs to be purified. It needs purification. It needs salvation. It needs to be salvaged, to be put back to its original intent. Sin is when you've fallen from your original intent. You've missed the mark and you've gone from what the original purpose was. To be purified helps you to get back to the original purpose. You cannot confuse it. Sin and purification. Now, why am I saying all that? Because, sisters, we have sinned, and you have sinned, whether you know it or not. You have fallen short of your original purpose. The purification is what's going to be what takes you to so look, even though we have sinned, or even though you might have sinned, or even though daddy might have sinned, or even though your community might have sinned, it doesn't mean that you cannot be purified. Matter of fact, the purification will only show up because you have sinned. So praise Yah that he kept you through the sin, that he covered it, and now you can be purified. Don't blame yourself. Exactly, right? If you're dirty, you need to wash yourself. Come on, Sister Judith, right? If you don't wash yourself if you're not dirty. You're not dirty. If you're dirty, then hey, just go wash yourself, right? If you fall in dirt, everybody gets embarrassed, ashamed, this and that. Look, at the end of the day, you got other clothes. You have the ability to wash it off. Wash yourself off and put on some other clothes. And when you come back out, you might look better in the new clothes than you did before you fell in the mud. You know what I'm saying? But don't let everything stop just because you fell in the mud, sis. Little girl, I'm talking to the little girl today. Right? I'm talking to the little girl today. Sis, baby girl. Yes, you fell. Yes, we dropped you. Yes, you're not what you were supposed to be. But it doesn't mean that you can't be purified. The same word for sin is what we talk about for your purification. If you don't sin, then you can't be purified. Right? If you're not kahabalah, your sin, it's talking specifically about, it's dual purpose. The only reason why purification is put in place is because you will fall. The only reason why you fall is because you fell from a pure place. Purification is just getting you to, it's salvation, it's salvaging. You were pure, you fell, let's get you right back to purification. You were pure, right? Your body was doing exactly what it's supposed to. It was getting ready to give the next generation of life. Nothing, no seed was there to be able to feed it from a father. The father wasn't in position, or the father's seed, for whatever reason, wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. You were not able to multiply. You became unclean when you couldn't multiply. That's not on you. That's because for whatever reason, the seed wasn't sown. But that's okay. Just because you're unclean for a season, it doesn't mean that you're going to bleed for 28 days. You say you're unclean for a week. Some of you, after 2 or 3 days, you're finished bleeding. Keep going. Right? Just talking to the little girl in you today. Keep going. It's all right. I know there's a lot of stuff that we should have done, that we should have taught, that we should have been better. Right? I know there's a lot of stuff that you're not protected in. And I know that just talking for this little hour, hour and a half, whatever, is not going to get the job fully done. I'm just trying to remind you of who you are. I'm just trying to remind you of who you are. Yes, you fell short. We fell short. The community fell short. We got away from Yah's will. We are not doing what we're supposed to do right now. But it doesn't mean we can't go away from not being right to becoming righteous. The same word, that really blessed me when I got that in my spirit, right? I don't even know if a lot of people have even talked about that too much on these live sessions, but that really blessed me when I realized that when you sin, you got to be purified. It's the same word. Kavalov. If I sin, then I must be purified. The purification process is to take me out of the sin. See, watch this. So-and-so mistreated me. So-and-so mistreated me. What you going to do to purify? That should be the first step. Our first step is anger. I need to, and look, that's very human, but then we want to start getting our humanity to a perfect humanity, right? And to match with your psychology and nachafas, your soul, to be able to get it to be in tune with the spirit, right? So we have to start salvaging, getting back to your original intent. See, look, it's very human. It's human nature for you to get angry. Be angry and sin not, though. So it's righteous anger. If I'm angry, I'm angry because now I got to go through something that's not pure, but I praise Yah that at least I can have a purification process. What is your sin offering that you're going to lay down? If you're going to be purified, what is your sin offering? What is the thing that you're willing to lay down? What is the thing that you're willing? See, a sin offering means that I got to offer up something specific, and it's got to be the best. It can't best be anything. See, we get mad and we say, I'm not going to give my best now, but no, you need a sin offering. Come on, somebody, right? I'm not going to give my best. No, baby girl, you need a sin offering. Oh, Tada, Lavakankwadash, Savara, yes. Oh, Savara, Taba. Yeah, this is you need a sin offering, and it's got to be the best. It's got to be the best you can give. It's got to be atonement. Study what was done at the Day of Atonement. If you've never celebrated, we just celebrate Day of Atonement, so a lot of you get what I'm saying. But study what an atonement is. By the way, probably the day that the Messiah was actually born, if you look at Scripture, right? But study what atonement actually is and what it does, and how serious it was, and how sometimes your atonement was so bad that you had the whole community. That's what I'm talking about. We as a community, as a society, we got to give the best. And you would have your father, your spiritual father, the priest, the high priest, would have to go behind the curtain and have to put his life on the line for the whole community. Israel, the wife, had to be what? Covered. Oh, Baba Kasha Tada, Tada, Mignon. Right. This is we got to get back to what's real with the reality of things. Right. It starts with being a wife. Matter of fact, maybe that's what we'll talk about heavy tomorrow. I'll pray about it because I didn't really know what direction we're going in for tomorrow. I've been seeking it and haven't been given it yet. So pray with me, pray for us. Maybe we'll talk about purification and different offerings, especially sin offering. Maybe that's what we'll dive deep into. But the purification, just know that when you sin, you also must be purified, right? Sin is purification if you're in the kingdom, because anytime we fall short, we must purify. That's the mindset. It's the same word. That's the mindset. In the world, if you sin, then fine, you sin, we talk about it, we tell you this, we beat you up, we tell you blah, 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 and then maybe we start talking about, establishing yourself without actually purifying, right? Somebody says, okay, I want to stop having sex, and then what do we do? We just say, well, the power of the Holy Spirit, and just stop doing it. But there's got to be purification. I just broke up with somebody. We were together for 25 years. I broke up with them or whatever, and I'm having problems, with not diddling myself. The Holy Spirit, and there's a purification process. There's some stuff we got to do. There's some things. There's a mindset change. They're not doing something because they mean to do it. They're doing something because they should have never been in this situation. They were part of a marriage, and the marriage wasn't supposed to break, but now it's broken up. Well, guess what? If the marriage is broken up, guess what you got to do? You got to go through a process of trying to get back to a pure place, to where somebody messed up what Yah had said was supposed to be forever, and now it's not going to be forever. That's tough. But we just treat it like just do whatever the Bible says. No, you got it. They need a sin offering. They need some purification. There's some atonement. Oh yeah. Part of the reason why we're in the situation that we're in now, because we don't like to talk about this stuff. But this is really heavy stuff. It's real stuff. So anyways, I hope in talking to the little girl today, something that I said made sense. We thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. We're going to make sure that we're on the podcast soon. So we're going to do a real quick. When I say real quick, I mean real quick. Shout out at the end. Matter of fact, SOC members, y'all do what y'all do for the shout out on TikTok. Those of you on TikTok never seen the shout out, it's going to be real quick. So I'm going to get ready, because we got to get ready for the live. For the podcast. And we'll make sure that we're on a little bit. Join us on the podcast. That'll pretty much only be the only thing I'm going to put on the screen today. Hopefully you'll hear it. The wind is picking up, so it's be really windy where I am today. So Hopefully you'll be able to hear the music during the shout out, but we thank you guys for spending time with us. We really appreciate you. We appreciate the king, queen in each and every one of you. Even if you're not living inside that kingdom or queendom yet, we appreciate the potential king, queen in each and every one of you. Whether you joined us on the podcast, you came over from Facebook, you joined us on YouTube, or you joined us on TikTok. It is our pleasure and privilege to have you on. We give all honor and praise to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life to say would be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We thank you guys so much for your support of what we do at SOC. Continue to pray for us that we make sure we start getting the land together so that we can hopefully by the springtime next year, y'all can start coming on there and we can start, putting some stuff together and growing some food and just at least nothing else, praying over it, maybe doing some events, all that stuff. But we thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. Thank you for those who are helping behind the scenes. Thank you for all y'all do. Thank you so much for the love. And we'll get ready for the podcast. So hopefully we hear from you guys at the top of the hour. And you guys take care. Hopefully we spoke well to the little girl. And if there's further questions, and maybe if you guys want to go over, we can do even more of this, right? But we'll be on the podcast. That'll be a time for you to call in. And like I said, if we need to do that for a little while, for some healing's sake, I'm here for it. So thank you guys. As a reminder, right after the podcast at 11 a.m. Eastern New York time, our children will have Shabbat Shalom service at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. Ministers in training, we will be back on track as far as using Zoom. Excuse me. And at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, brothers, we have our men's meeting. So we hope to see you guys at all that today. And if for some reason I don't see you in any of that stuff later today, prayerfully, I'll see you tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. And since it's Sunday, we'll be going in even longer. So prayerfully, you guys will be ready for that and are excited for that and are ready to move as Yah says to move for that. So thank you. We appreciate you. We honor you. As always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Excuse me, until we have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shabbat Shalom. We'll do the shout out real quick, and we hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you guys in the podcast. Peace.